Seriously, what the hell is going on?
Locked in the bunker, shadows shake. One man clapping secrets awake. Board games living, dice they break. Echoes pounding, hearts they quake. In the bunker, board games rolling. One man clapping, stories growing. Hard rock thunder, speakers blowing. Clapping loud, the unknown sound.
Welcome to the sound of one man clapping. I am the one man coming to you direct from the bunker. It is Sunday. It's a week out from Essen and life is good. I've recovered from Pax Australia and have a ton to talk about. I toyed with actually splitting this into 2 episodes, but that's just a recipe for me falling behind and letting you down, so buckle up. Today we're going to go through the games that were. We're going to drown in crowdfunding options with 101 ways to give away all your money, and a voice in my head I share my best in show from Pax Australia. Strap in, OMC crew, it's gonna be a ride. Well, welcome back, one man clappers. Whew, PAX was so good. I know it's no Gen Con, I know it's no Essen, but I'll tell you what, 60,000 of your best friends all hanging out for games. It was amazing. This week on the games that were, I'm actually going to focus solely on the demos and plays I did at PAX, because I've actually had a chance to play a ton of other games as well. And this is probably going to get close to an hour and 3/4 as it is. So sorry in advance, not sorry, not even a little bit sorry, because I skipped you guys for a week. So I need double the therapy. So you're in my squeezy little hands for the next hour and a half, hour and 3/4, whatever it is. Feel free to pause, fast forward, tune out, tune in next week. But on the games that were. So PAX Australia, it's 3 days long. I was only able to go for 2 days this year. I had immediate regrets at the end of day 2, thinking, oh man, if I'd had any holidays or leave left in the bank, I would have called my boss on Saturday going, hey, yeah, about Monday, but as it was, had to travel home on Monday on the Sunday, because it is a 10-hour drive home from PAX, which I quite like, but I managed to play some great games. So, first cab off the rank, 12 Rivers, which is the new release from Good Games. Good Games is the publisher for this. Yeah, so published by Good Games. Good Games is one of the sponsors at PAX, so there's a lot of good games there to try and play and buy if you wanted to buy. I had the extraordinary good fortune in that the week leading up to PAX, I won an online competition with Good Games, so I got a free copy of 12 Rivers. No idea how to play it, so I got into one of the demos. So, spoiler alert, 12 Rivers is really quite cool. The art is, it's not, I would say it's not, I don't say it's not to my taste. It's not what I would normally, so I'm going to recline the chair here in the bunker because I'm going to be here a while and I want to be comfy. It's not the kind of art that I would normally sort of lean into. I wouldn't even know how to describe it. It's not chibi. It's almost like borderline anime folk art. Ugh, if someone can do a better description than that, please send me your notes. I'm taking notes on this one. But the table presence is stupidly gorgeous. You've got this kind of hillside that sits up on the table at a 45-degree angle with all these lovely little chutes and channels and stuff running through it. And at the top you've got a barrier like the old Hot Wheels racetrack. And you randomize a set of, I think it's eight marbles along the top of different colors. In front of you, you have an alpaca with a number of little slots that hold marbles. Marbles and magnets, guys. Watch this space. Marbles and magnets. Every game's going to have marbles and magnets in 18 months. And you've got a lovely little alpaca with, I think, if I remember, it's got about 8 slots in it to hold marbles. And you have a number of tiles. I think it's 3. The number should be 3. It could be 4. I think it's 3 tiles around. And you have a hand of cards. And so in your hand of cards, I think there's 4 or 5 different cards that are all quite powerful, but in order to play them, you have to play a pair. So what you can do is you can play these cards as a currency, Race for the Galaxy style, in order to slot in your little tiles, or you can play them as a pair for a little bit of a superpower. So you might have heard a little siren in the background there. I live right next door to the rural firehouse, and they go out all the time for emergency stuff. Nothing's on fire, thankfully, but not near us anyway. So you have a hand of cards, and there are 4 or 5 different sections of slots in these channels. Imagine it looks like the Nile Delta. You've got all these little channels that eventually all fall into one channel down at the bottom of this hillside, and there are different spots that you can pop your tile in. And the further up you want your tile to go, the more cards you have to spend to drop it in. So cards are currency. And so all these marbles have all different end scoring points. You know, the white pearly marbles, the most valuable, I think. The purple's the next one, all the way down to stuff that's worth, almost nothing. And alongside that, you have different recipes in front of you, different villagers that want different clusters of marbles. They might want 1 of each color. They might want 4 of the same color. They might want 2 pairs, whatever the case is. And so on your turn, you're going to look at the top of the track and go, wow, there's 2 purple marbles, a white marble, a green marble, orange marble. I really want that purple marble. So you can choose where to slot your tile. If you want your tile right down on the very bottom, it costs nothing, no cards, but you got to hope the marbles get there. If you want it the first tier, you pay 1 card. At the second tier, you pay 2 cards. At the third tier is right under the marble you want. It costs you 3 cards, which is quite expensive. Cards are also something you have to pay to get. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to collect sets of marbles that match your recipe needs in front of you. There are also some group goals. There are some table goals that sit out front, and it might say, if you get 5 marbles, then you get to score this card, and it only gets to be scored once. However, those marbles need to be sitting in your alpaca. You can't score marbles for those once they've been moved from your alpaca into the village, and you can't score stuff in the village for marbles that are in your alpaca. And so you're going to pop your little tile in, and then everyone's going to take turns putting their tiles in, and there are some spots where you can put tiles in right behind each other, and then you pull the berry out at the top, and all the marbles start running through the channels, and they stop where the tiles hit. Where the tiles are, and sometimes if you're right at the top, you're going to pull it, and the marble's going to doink, it falls right into that tile. You know you're going to get the tile if you've paid 3, or the marble, if you've paid 3 cards to get the marble to go right at the top, you're going to grab that marble. 3 cards is a lot. You want to gamble and go a little further down. A little further down, there might be 2 or 3 different channels that all run in together. And if nobody puts tiles above there will actually be 3 marbles there waiting for your choice. So anyway, the short of it is, when marbles hit your tile, which is blocking the channels, you get to choose 1 marble. So you pick one of those, it goes on your alpaca, you take your tile out. The marbles keep running if there's any left. The next tile they hit, the person whose tile there, they get to pick 1 marble. There are a couple of superpowers in here that let you choose more than 1 marble. There are some not asymmetrical. This is what the cards in your hand can be used to buy slots. They can also be paired to do things like take 2 marbles. There are also some little fairy tokens. I can't remember what they're called. They're out that you can grab. Anyway, there's some superpowers you can have. And as you take your tiles out, they go into the turn order track down the bottom. So the first tile that comes out is going to go down I think it goes down the bottom. It goes backwards. Goes to the very bottom of the turn order track. So the turn order track will hold all the tiles in the game. If there's 4 of you playing, that'll be 12 tiles. If there's 2 of you playing, it'll be 6 tiles. I can't remember if it's 3 or 4. Irrelevant. So you pull your tile out. Marbles hit your tile. You take your marble. You pull your tile out. Your tile goes down the turn track. So the further down the little rivers and channels you are, the less likely you are to actually grab a marble, because sometimes none of them make it to the bottom of the track. But your tile will be the one that goes in the turn order track last, which means it's at the top, and you will pick first. It's lovely. It's a lovely little push-pull. Here's another set of little slots you can pop your tile in, which allow you to buy new recipes. They allow you to buy more cards. 12 Rivers it's got a delightful table presence. It's a very easy and whimsical teach. You can almost teach it on the fly and go, hey guys, here's your tiles, here's your cards, here's get ready, set, go. And by the time you get to your second round, you know how to play. I had a great time with 12 Rivers. Project L was absolutely delighted / green with envy that I'd won a 12 Rivers copy. I will say she's got her copy before mine. Mine still hasn't arrived from Good Games yet because they were very heavily involved in PAX, but I know it's coming. And I'm really happy that it's going to be on the way. It's probably, to be honest, not a game I would have bought if I hadn't played it. And even then, knowing Project L was going to buy one, we'd try to pool our libraries. I probably still wouldn't have bought it. I would have gone, hey, can I borrow 12 Rivers? But delighted it's in the library, delighted it's coming. 12 Rivers is by Romain Catergian and published by Good Games. And thank you, Good Games, for my copy of 12 Rivers. Very excited. Second game I played at PAX. I wanted to like this game. I wanted to like it when I saw it on crowdfunding. I wanted to like it. I did like it when I saw it on crowdfunding. I didn't crowdfund it. Wanted to like it when I saw it on the table. This is called Citrus. So Citrus has kind of an Elysium sort of look and feel. It's got this big, towering 3-level city that's up in the clouds. And then you've got this kind of Renegade / Deckers hex map down the bottom with, super day glow colors that represents the slums. And we're all playing slum lord / gang leaders / thugs down in the pits. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to weasel our way up into the Cloud City and gain some influence up there. And influence is points. And you've got some stuff on your player board that you can do. It's essentially a worker placement game. It's a worker placement game, and you're going to put workers out, and the different spaces give you different stuff like a worker placement game does. You also have these little flying cars that fly up into the city that can do stuff, and on the way down they make a stop and they can do other stuff. It's that kind of mechanic with Cryo / Dwellings of Eldervale / Andromeda's Edge, where you put a worker out and on its way back it can swing by and kind of do something good for you. It was fine. I just felt that it was a bit overwrought. I think I don't need a simple game, but this just felt like it had steps for steps' sake, and the scoring was similar. In the end, the scoring was a little occluded. And props to the dude who was doing the teach. Right, he was a young guy, and you sit down and he goes, "All right, spoiler alert: Citrus is literally my favorite game. I have 700 plays." I'm like, "Hey man, that's 700 plays." Far out. It might not have been 700. It was a lot, the number he quoted. It was a lot. I don't have 700 plays of anything, except games in general. Anyway, his teach was great. It was very clear. He knew the game inside out. If you had an edge case question, he had the answer at his fingertips. It's just what you want from somebody who's demoing games. And clearly, he loved Citrus. I don't love Citrus. I actually will be very happy if playing the demo saved me about $75. I'll be very happy if I never play Citrus again. It might be for you. I also think the components were really mid-tier. The player boards were just screaming out to be dual layered. The map, and you're stacking these like basically recycled scrap columns, and which is fine, but it's a sleeve of death scenario. Like one good sneeze and the board is fucked. It's got a very pretty table presence. That great big 3-level city just pissed me off, though. It's like the Evertree, but it's also stacked with tokens and bits and all kinds of stuff. And again, all it would take is somebody sitting down too hard, and that thing is gone. It could have just as easily been, a 2D representative sort of tacked onto the board where I think it would have been a lot more sensible. Also, you got to sit and assemble this 3D monstrosity every time you want to play the game. No. That said, if you watch some playthroughs, Citrus might be for you. It was not for me. That was by Sean Lee, art is by Riot Bones, published by Tress Games and Good Games. Oh, this third one. Oh, man. So, I didn't play many games on first day, because you spend the first day just kind of like just strolling through with your eyes falling out of your head going, how do I want to approach this? And it was so busy. It was very hard to get into the bookings. And I will say that there were a lot of the demos, good games and Asmodee and a lot of the companies that were running big demo sections, they jumped all over Aftergame. So big props to them because Aftergame is the easiest way to book this sort of things. But once they're booked, right? Like if you didn't know about Aftergame, and 9 people out of 10 that I met at PAX had no idea what Aftergame was. They literally couldn't get into a booking. They couldn't get into a demo. There were a number of demos you could do that weren't pre-booked. They were just rock up and wait kind of thing. But I really felt for people that had no idea what Aftergame was. So before PAX, I'd booked most of my demos for day 2 so that I could free up day 1 to really just absorb everything. I'm glad I did. So those are the 2 that I played during PAX. Played a couple of games after PAX with Lou. Lou was obviously there with me, and we played some games after hours. And this, okay, look, I'm just going to have to confess, we played Muffin Time. Muffin Time is by Big Potato Games, and they do party games, right? I'm okay with party games. You know, one of my favorite quotes from Eddie Collin was big shout out to Tapio, and he said, "I do not like fun games." Right? He was referring to party games. You know, if it's not a beige Euro, he just doesn't want to get out of bed. I can get out of bed for stuff other than beige Euros, but party games do not do it for me. You know, taco, cat, good cheese, pizza. I'd rather stab myself in the eye with a pizza cutter, and you know that's tough to do because they're blunt and round. We played Muffin Time. Now we're wandering through the library, and I didn't even know Muffin Time is based on some stupid YouTube. Sorry, anyone who's a Muffin Time fan, it's probably not stupid. But Lou was like, "I want to play this." I'm like, "What?" And it's this little box that says Muffin Time, and it's got this weird scribbled art on it that reminds me of cyanide and happiness. It's called Muffin Time, and I'm like, "Okay, dude, you want to play Muffin Time?" She's like, "Yep, we're playing Muffin Time." I'm like, "Okay." Muffin Time is stupid as shit. Okay, it is stupid as shit. And also the most I've laughed in a very long time in a game. Spoiler alert. I thought Muffin Time was freaking hilarious. It's so stupid though. You've got a mountain of cards, and they fall into three categories. You got blue cards that let you do something. Right now, the way you win Muffin Time is you've got to get to 10 cards in your hand. You've got to scream Muffin Time at the top of your lungs, and then you've got to survive till the next turn and still have 10 cards in your hands. Because there are a ton of ways to steal cards. There's no way to win Muffin Time on purpose. Right? There's no way to plan. There's no way to win on purpose. It is just unbridled chaos, and somebody comes out on top. And that's where I think the charm lies in. So you've got blue cards that let you do something. It might say, steal 2 cards from someone else at the table. Right? Easy done. It might say, draw 3 cards. It might say, draw 2 cards, keep 1. Whatever. You blue cards are you doing cards. And then you had your green cards. Your green cards are like your shield cards. And they can stop someone else from doing something to you specifically. Right? So if somebody plays a card that says, take 3 cards from James, and I go, bow, bow, and I play a card that says, you know, no one takes cards from you in this turn, right? No problem. That's cool. The fun, how do I say the fun? The stupid hilarity bit is the red cards. The red cards are the trap cards. Now, the trap cards, what you do is you play them face down, and they're basically like a game landmine. They just sit there. And when you see someone play a trap card, you go, oh. And then the shenanigans start, because the trap cards require someone else at the table to do something. And if they do that, you get a big huzzah. So, spoiler alert, I'm going to talk about a couple of trap cards. There are like, I don't know, 70 trap cards in this deck. So, like, it's not that big a deal. But so I had a trap card that said, and I might get the text wrong, but it said, if somebody has to read the rule book, you steal 5 of their cards, right? Okay. Pretty simple rule set in Muffin Time, right? It's play a card. It's draw a card or play a card. I mean, there's a couple of, you know, you can play a trap card for free, and then it's play a card or draw a card, whatever the case is. It's a really simple. There's like 3 rules, and the rest is all on the cards. So getting someone to read the rule book, you know, I thought, well, this can't be that hard. Lou had actually done the teach, right? Because, you know, it's a pamphlet that opens up, and it basically says, anyway, go find the rule set for Muffin Time, because whoever wrote the rules has got quite a humorous bent on them. So I played this trap card down, and I just kept playing trap cards. Every time I got a trap card, I would play it. Now the rules state you can only have 3 trap cards at the most. So I thought, oh, I've got this. So I put a 4th trap card down, and then Lou didn't notice. And then I put a 5th trap card down, and she went, oh, wait a second, buddy. I'm like, yeah? You can't have that. You can only have 3 trap cards. I went, oh, you didn't say that. And she went, yes, I did. And slammed her hand down on the rule book, picked it up, and I flipped the card, and I went, suck it! And I took 5 cards off her. And she looked at me, and she just couldn't believe it. Her mouth was on her chest, and she was and we were pissing ourselves laughing. It is this stupidest pile of cards that flows into some absolute hilarity. I don't think there's more than 3 or 4 games in it, to be honest, because, you know, you get to know the shenanigans. Because what happens is you play a trap card, and then all of a sudden you're trying to corral someone into a certain behavior or to do something. And what ends up happening is you end up like, trap cards are down, you just end up shutting your mouth and shaking your head back and forth. You know, like it's... You just go into this turtle mode of I'm not engaging with you until I find out what's in that card. But 2 or 3 games, I think it's about a $15 game. I will certainly be looking for a cheap copy. I think we'll get to the table, we play 3 games or 4 games, and we give it to another family. and it could just do the trots. It is stupid. You cannot win on purpose, but we pissed ourselves laughing. No end. Muffin time. Who knew? Who knew? Later that night, we played, and this has been on my list for a while, we played Galaxy Trucker. Now, Galaxy Trucker has been around a long time. And if you know anything about Galaxy Trucker, it was made by the game designer who's made, quite ostensibly, one of the most complicated games that we've got access to, and that's Mage Knight. This is made by Vlad, and Galaxy Trucker, for all the chaotic hilarity that it has, is certainly not Mage Knight. So in Galaxy Trucker, first you're frantically trying to cobble together a ship, which is basically tile laying with limitations. And then you're trying to survive 6 rounds of flipping cards with challenges on them. Easy, right? So we didn't cheat. We played the intro bit where you get your card, and what you're meant to do is you're meant to reach into this pile of tiles and you flip it over, and it's all parts. It's engines, and it's laser beams, and it's shields, and it's crew quarters, and it's all kinds of stuff. It's power supplies, and you're trying to put them down into your ship. And if you don't want the piece, you leave it face up, and anyone else can grab it. Now, this is meant to be done with a timer. Now, I can imagine with the timer, this would almost result in someone accidentally copying a tile in the throat, because you're only allowed to do this one-handed. And we played on the introductory ships, which is only something like 12 or 14 or 16 spaces. But some of the more advanced stuff, you've got 35 spaces. And I can imagine you flip that timer and it would just be bonkers. And the ships that you end up with would be bonkers. And they all have little connectors on the tiles. And if they don't line up properly, there's penalties and all kinds of stuff. It was, as I said, we played our first game without the timer and still struggled to make functional ships. I think with the timer, it would just be hilarious. It would be tears and peeing yourself. And then the trials are you flip a card and asteroids are coming in from the left. You roll dice. If they hit certain parts of your ship, those parts fall off. They fall off your ship entirely. Or raiders attack and they shoot. And if you haven't got enough lasers in the right section of your ship, parts fall off. And you limp into the docks with this ship that is busted as fuck with shit everywhere. And you realize halfway through the journey you forgot to put a battery in, so you have nothing to power your rockets. And it's hilarious. It was fun. We enjoyed every second of it. We finished, and Lou looked me in the eye and she said, "You need to buy this game, buddy," because she had so much fun, and the peanut would love this. So I've since discovered that Project L has Galaxy Trucker and a couple of expansions. When I finally return the other games, I've got at least one of our games in here. I think I've got Zombicide Black Plague. When I finally return that, I'll say, "Hey, can I borrow Galaxy Trucker?" But we'll get this one done first, because I've got to catch up on some of my backlog. Anyway, that's by Vlad, art by Tomasz Kusrowski and Radim Pech, and published by CGE Czech Games Edition. Galaxy Trucker. Oh, hold on, because I played a lot of games on day 2. Day 2 was really, really good. So I started off Star Wars Battle of Hoth. Now this is based on the Memoir 44 game system. I have never played Memoir 44. I've never really leaned into or been attracted to, I guess, historical war era stuff. Again, you put it in a sci-fi theme like Undaunted Callisto 2200. I'm all over that. Like white on rice. But never been attracted to Memoir 44. I think Super Trooper owns a little bit of Memoir 44. I've never played. It's not something I would request. I guess, I don't know. I probably should, but it's just, it's like Undaunted Stalingrad and that sort of stuff. I've never really leaned into that stuff. But Battle of Hoth, you throw AT-AT walkers and speeders and little probe droids and rebel forces, and all of a sudden you've got my attention. So Battle of Hoth, I played not quite a full game, but a most of a game demo. I really, really enjoy Battle of Hoth. It's basically a card-driven system. You're drafting cards, and the cards, you're going to play one card around, and the card has very specific guidance on what you can activate. And once you've got to run through the whole deck before you can shuffle it and go again. And I can see why the Memoir 44 system is really popular. I can see why it works. It's the kind of thing where the card, it doesn't just say you can move one group here to here. It basically says you can move any group in this area and you can activate it twice. And activations give you a lot of different options. There's dice involved, as there always is in this sort of stuff. It's not unlike Undaunted, where you've got to roll the dice to see if you've achieved a high enough roll to actually, do the hit you want to do. But some of these cards are like there's three areas, there's three basically arenas of war, left, middle, and right. And a card might say you can activate 2 units from each of the outside, outside arenas. And so that's great. And so you've got individual units in there, and the units have limitations on what they can and can't do. There's a little push-pull, and that the small units can move a lot faster, but obviously they hit a lot lighter. The AT-ATs can barely move at all, which makes sense because they're great big lumbering hunks of crap. And but if they do hit, they hit really hard, and they're also really hard to take down. I really enjoyed it. I wouldn't buy it only because, I think, for me, at least with the Undaunted 2200 Callisto, it's got a very robust solo bot that, now that I've got my head around, isn't overly onerous to run, and Battle of Hoth does not. I think that Battle of Hoth would be the kind of thing that someone like Super Trooper would love, and it's not quite a filler. Like, I would say it's probably 60 minutes to 75 minutes at a guess for a full game. I'll play it any time, though. I'll tell you what, if anyone else wants to pick it up, I'll play it any time. That is Star Wars Battle of Hoth by Richard Borg, Adrien Martineau, art by Ben Carré and Christophe Duhaz. Tony Fauti, Clément Masson, oh my god, artists everywhere, and published by Days of Wonder. It's just been released. I think it's going for about $75, and I think there's easily $75 worth of game in there. You've got great little minis, you've got 16 or 17 scenarios. Awesome. I played 2 Everdell games that have been on my list to try, obviously by the same team. That's James A. Wilson and Clarissa A. Wilson. The art is slightly varies from one to the other, but we'll start with Everdell Silver Frost. Now, Silver Frost was out in crowdfunding, I think, last year. I think it's pretty much just delivered, and it's basically Everdell in the snow. You've got a mountain and a great, like the Evertree. You've got like the stupid lighthouse in Farshore, which actually serves zero purpose whatsoever. There's not even anything stacked on it like there is in Everdell. Silverfrost makes use of the mountain. You've got 4 little, beacons of Gondor up there that you can light for certain things, and you've got cards that stand up on them. But again, totally unnecessary. They could have been worker placement spots, but whatever. So Silverfrost basically is Everdell, but with more steps, such that every round you're going to flip a card and snow comes out onto worker placement spaces and onto cards in your tableau. And you can't activate or use those cards or activate or use those spaces till you get rid of the snow. And you do that because you are investing in little flame. I don't know what they are. It's little fiery. It's like a flaming version of the Everdell berries, so to speak. And you spend one of those, and it melts the snow in a space. And so that's another resource to manage to get into where you want to get to. Up on the mountain, there are a number of quite powerful cards that cycle through. There's little steps on the mountain that they sit there perched precariously, because as soon as anyone clears their throat, they all fall off. But you can go and get one of those, and it acts as like a one-off extra power for that one turn, and they were fine. The snow mechanics bullshit, I'm sorry. Like, just making it extra painful to get into a space, it's worse than cock blocking. I can deal with somebody getting into a space before me, but a totally free space that I then have to try and farm and squeeze and milk another resource out of to burn the snow or get and clear the snow to get into, it was not for me. You do have one meeple that's wearing snowshoes. It's literally wearing snowshoes. It clips into some little plastic snowshoes, and it can go anywhere where there's snow, and that's nice because it means that you've got at least one go of getting somewhere. If you haven't got any of these little fire tokens, I just felt it was overwrought. I thought that it didn't deliver anything better that is in Everdell with a couple of expansions or Farshore. Farshore is kind of, in some ways, it's a little crunchier than Everdell, but it's also resource. It alleviates that sort of resource pressure of Everdell. It's not quite so tight. You also have free actions with your little metal anchors, and so it's a little bit breezier than Everdell in some ways, but it's also a little crunchier in others in some of the combos. Everdell Silverfrost, it was not for me. I actually found that just that one extra layer, it's not that it was too hard to puzzle, it was just annoying. It was annoying, and it didn't create more of a puzzle. It just created speed humps to getting where you wanted to be that just clogged up the free flowing of the game. But I played Everdell Duo. Now, Everdell Duo had been on my list to try for ages because the Foxes played Everdell and she was fine with Everdell, but it was just that little bit too crunchy for her. Everdell Duo, it's not that it's a light game, but it's just a little bit lighter. You know, it's a smaller presence on the table. It's easy to set up. It's still Everdell-esque. You've still got the resources and the bits and whatever else. You've got these two tokens, the Sun and the Moon token, that march across, and they're really just timers for the round, right? Because every time someone plays a card, one of the tokens moves across, and every time something else. I'm sorry, I've played so many games in the last 2 weeks. Every time someone places a worker, that's right, the other one moves along. So anytime as soon as there are 6 workers played, and you've only got 3, I don't think you get any more. So everyone gets their worker out. But as soon as there are 6 cards played, then the season ends. It's a tortoise and a hare. And so the next season, you know, there's a little seasonal thing for who does what in each season. It's clever. It's brisk. I think Everdell Duo is a 45-minute game. And I think the Fox would really, really like it. It's absolutely on my list to pick up. It's a nice, tidy little box that'll fit into any Calyx squeaky space you've got. You won't have to lube it up with WD-40 at all. It could pop in just about anywhere. I think it's a good size for travel, and I think the Fox would really, really like it. It's cute as fuck as well. You know, it goes back to that Andrew Bosley art. I know they've had a lot of different artists come through. This is arts by Engar Adarasa, who also was involved in Silverfrost, but Andrew Bosley, and it's really got that OG Everdell feel about it, and I will certainly be looking to pick that up. Oh, well, what next? I played Wormspan. Oh, man. You know, I'm starting to identify just a tiny bit as a Stonemaier junkie or groupie, you know. I played Wormspan. Now, all the jokes aside of, you know, we're going to be having Burger Span and Spam Span and, oh man, like I have Wingspan. I have a lot of Wingspan. I don't quite own it all. The Fox loves Wingspan. She just thinks it's a breezy little puzzle, and it is. You know, you've got to get some eggs, and the eggs are cute. You get the food, and the food's cute. You roll some dice. I've got the lovely little wooden, you know, laser rocks, or I think I got mine on Etsy, wooden dice tower, and it makes a lovely little chunky noise that comes out. And the birds are pretty, and the powers are nice, and it's easy. When I say it's easy, it's something she enjoys playing. I could tell you if I didn't have Wingspan, I would 100% be buying Wormspan. But that said, I also think Wormspan has some more layers on it, and I think it would push it out of her comfort zone. Now, Wormspan is not Wingspan. These, although they have some shared mechanics, I was doubtful looking at it and thinking this is just Wingspan. It's just an animal with different wings. It's actually, you know, it shares DNA. Absolutely. It absolutely shares DNA. But it's where it's different that I think is excellent. So one, there's no more food. Okay. You have resources that you can get. You have milk and meat and milk and meat and something else. And you have these little coins, and the coins are little treasures that attract the dragons. And gone are the round counters, so each round is now the same number of turns. Unless you get lucky enough to buy another turn, you can do that. I would say call it buying another turn, but some cards grant you an extra coin that you can even save. Right? You can actually pass from the round as soon as you like. So you get, I think it's 6 coins, and each coin, you spend a coin to do a turn. It goes down on your board, similarly to the cubes of old, and it's a turn. You don't give one up at the end of every round. So instead of like in in Wingspan, where you have so many turns in the first round, you have one less in the second round, one less in the third round. You have the same number of turns every round. Sometimes you will play a dragon, and it will say, gain a coin. So you get a coin, and that's an extra turn. You can also decide in round 1, well, I'm going to pass, and I'm going to save 2 coins for next turn. You know, often in Wingspan, you get into the end of the round, and you're like, well, I've only got 1 turn left. Fuck, I'm just going to get some food, or just going to get some eggs, or just going to get some cards. And you're like, I don't know what to do. There's nothing. Well, now you don't have to. Now you can go, well, now I'm going to hoard these like Smaug on my mountain of coins, and I'm going to use them next round, or even the round after. You don't have to spend them all. You only lose the ones that are spent, and I think that's really, really clever. You still have eggs. Eggs are a currency that you use to get into spaces, but now you have to dig out caves. It's an action to dig out caves, and it opens up a new environment. And when you dig those out, you find stuff as you do in caves, right? Could be a bit of food, could be a bit of gold, could be, that was the third resource, is gold. You've got gold, meat, and milk. And then you've got these little treasure coins. And of course, Stonemaier has these gorgeous, beautiful upgraded resources for all this stuff. Of course you can, right? As I said, if I didn't have Wingspan, I would be buying a Wormspan because I think it's more game. There's more game, and I think it's a very enjoyable bit of more game. And it's certainly more in line with the kind of game that I would love to play. I will play Wingspan. I really like Wingspan. I play Wingspan because I get to sit at the table with my beautiful wife. Not because it's a game I crave anymore, though. I've kind of, as a gamer, outgrown Wingspan. It's a little bit too on the light side. It's a little too random for me with the rolling of the food and the drawing of the cards. And you just, I enjoy it. I enjoy it plenty. I think it's a very pretty game, and I have no issues with it. I will play it anytime someone says, hey, do you want to play Wingspan? I will absolutely play. And I won't, there's no groaning, there's no nothing. I will play it. If you gave me a choice, I would pick Wormspan every day because I think it's more game. And I also really fucking love dragons. That helps, right? I'd like the dragon art. It's the same artist, I believe, that's just done the art for Origin Story, which is about to come, which is releasing now in Australia and worldwide, which is the new superhero trick taker that Jamie Stegmaier has released. I believe it's the same artist. It's got a real lovely swishing watercolor feel to it. And that was Wormspan. Yeah, do recommend. That's art. That's designed by Connie Vogelman. Connie also designed Apiary for Stonemaier. I believe this is her second game. Art by Clementine Campardu and published by Stonemaier Games. Look, I'm not going to give this much oxygen, but I did try Slam Throne. Slam Throne is the new game, and my hands are doing air quotes here, by Dice Throne Inc. Slam Throne, if you were alive in the 80s, is Pog. You're making a stack of stuff, and you're putting a character on top, and then you're slamming another disc down on top of it, and you're trying to flip the stuff down that's in the sandwich. It is the shittest pile of shit that I've ever seen. It is not a game. It is something that 2 8-year-olds would play, and they'd probably be bored of it after 30 minutes. They're selling this stuff in little packs, $15 a pack or whatever. It comes with one thing in it. I wouldn't have brought it home if they were giving it to me. If they said, take this, I'm like, because I'll tell you what would happen is the Peanut would be playing with Beelzebubbles, and shit would be smashed 3 rooms away, because they would be flinging these weighted discs down on this stuff with all their might, screaming like they're in a Highlander beheading someone. And the stuff's going to fly, and all of a sudden you've got stuff 3 rooms away that's smashing because these discs, forget it. Forget it. Good luck with Slam Throne. I don't begrudge anyone the right to make money, but oh my lord, and to be honest, I played it because it got me a stamp on my passport. You get these little passports at PAX. When you try games, you get stamps, and you get to cash in stamps. And it contributed to me getting a free copy of Sea Salt and Paper. So thank you, Slam Throne. It was the last stamp I needed for the weekend to get my free copy. Very happy with that. But I mean, Slam Throne can eat a bowl of dicks. It was just the most ridiculous. I think Pog was free from memory. Didn't we used to get Pog in bags of chips and shit? Oh man. Anyway, Slam Throne. 1 star, do not recommend. Oh, we're at 40 minutes already. One more. We're going to do one more, team. And so this was another after hours game I played. I played a few more bits and pieces, but we're at 40 minutes, and I'm not even at the end of the games that were. So, get comfy. Maybe pause. Go get yourself a cup of tea, toilet break, have a sandwich, because we got a while to go yet. I played Scoville. Now, if you listen to the Board Game Barbecue team here in Australia, another bunch of legends, Dana Banana on the Board Game Barbecue group was talking about Scoville about 4 or 5 weeks ago. Thank you, Dana. Dana's a legend in her own right. Loves a poop joke. She has no boundaries, and she's about as funny as they fucking come. She was talking about Scoville. Now, Scoville is a game about planting and harvesting chilies. And that sounds nice. Sounds fine, right? Scoville is way better than fine. Scoville is really, really cool. So in Scoville, you basically have this gigantic grid in the middle of the table. And if it sounds boring, it really kind of is. It's just this grid, and it's got chili-shaped slots all through it. and you start the game. You've got a little shield in front of you so people can't see what you've got, because you've got a lot of blind bidding for things like turn order, or which allows you to get to the market to get the things you need. That's really important because Lou screwed me so many times in that one. But essentially what you're doing is you're starting in the morning, you're going to the market, you're grabbing a market card which gives you a certain number of chilies. Then on your turn, you're going to plant a chili in the field, and then your Farmer Meeple's going to be out in the field, and he's going to walk around the field harvesting chilies. That's it. And then you got some recipe fulfillment on top of that. But that's not all. So you start off with red and green and yellow and blue chilies and that sort of stuff. Red, I think it's just primary colors. In the end, you have red, green, orange, yellow, blue, brown, black, gray, and clear. And I'm like, why are there clear chilies? What's with the clear crystal chili? It's a ghost pepper, isn't it? Isn't it a ghost pepper? When that hit me, I'm like, that's really funny. These little clear ones, they're ghost peppers. I like that. Anyway, so what happens is it starts with 2 peppers already planted in the field. They're randomly generated on your turn. So there'll be a red, let's say there's a red and a blue out there. And on your turn, you're going to plant a yellow chili. It has to be next to the other chilies. And then you can take 3 steps. And every time you step between 2 other peppers, you get a chili that is a crossbreed between those peppers. And you go to your little grid, and obviously, a red and a yellow makes an orange chili. That's easy. But what does an orange and red make? What does an orange and green make? What does a blue? So you've got this massive grid that you look at and go, Jesus H. Marimba, what is this? Because it's like a 20 by 20 grid, and you're like, this is insane. It's not. You find which 2 chilies you walk between, and you find out where they match, and you get that color chili. Bad news, some of them give you nothing. Some of them give you no chilies. So you take 3 steps, and every pepper plant you step between, you got to step between 2, you go pluck, and you pluck a new one out, and that's how you get more peppers. And then you are aiming towards, there's a chili cook-off set of recipes, and there's a market set of recipes, as in people who want to buy clusters of peppers. So they might want to buy 2 purples, 2 oranges, and a green. And if you can get that, you sell that, you go boink, and that's points. You got the chili cook-off. If you can make that chili, boink, that's points. At a certain point, the game moves from day to night. Night brings out a second set of cards. Obviously, they're bigger, they're badder, they've got the nicer chilies on them. I thoroughly enjoyed Scoville. I thought Scoville was not just good, I thought it was excellent, because you got a lovely little brain-burning puzzle in that you're looking at the field, where you're standing, where your opponents are standing in the field. Where do I want to plant this pepper in my hand? Because you plant 1 pepper. Where do I want to plant this pepper so that it's going to be in my path and it's going to give me a color I need towards the recipes that I'm aiming to fill? Where can I put it that Lou can't walk through it? Where can I put it that I can get through it and I can get the benefit? A couple other nitty-gritties. You can't turn around and walk backwards. You can only walk in one direction, right? So you can't take 2 steps forward and 1 step back and farm a space. You have a token in front of you that you can play that lets you change direction 1 time. That's something that messed with Lou's head a bit, because she kept going, well, I've walked here, I'm just going to go scoot this one. I'm like, you can't, you've gone backwards. I haven't gone backwards. I'm like, you have gone backwards. So you've got 3 special tokens. 1 lets you change directions. You basically have to turn around and walk the other way. 1 lets you plant a second pepper in the same turn. And I can't remember the third one. The third one, there are 3 little superpowers. You get them once in the entire game. Wasn't very long. I want to say with a teach. And the game, I don't think we cracked an hour. I think it was probably about 45 minutes. I think at 3 or 4 players, it would probably be about an hour, 15, hour and a half. I also think the game would be spectacular with that much going on, and the state of play changing with 4 peppers being planted every round. I am very much looking forward to seeing Scoville 2nd edition. I don't think it's out yet. I think it's at print. I don't think it's been released yet, but Scoville is absolutely on my list. I think it is clever. I think it does some very interesting things with that spatial puzzle of plant a chili, walk through the chilies, and really enjoyed it. Scoville's by Ermergerd, art by Josh Capel, published by Tasty Minstrel. The copy we played is published by Tasty Minstrel. We played the 1st edition, which is quite an older edition. I don't know if they're publishing the reprint, but Tasty Minstrel published the one we played. I have 2 more games, but I'm going to discuss them in voices in my head because they are my best in show for PAX. And that will do it for the games that were at 45 minutes. Whooshka. That's not even all the games I played. That's just the games at PAX. Well, here we are. Welcome to FOMOMOFO, where I take you through my personal, angst-ridden journey of capitalist acquisitionism. As always, this is not an exhaustive list of crowdfunding projects, but merely those that have my personal attention, either because they are by a design and development team I like, a theme I enjoy, or because they have pretty toys. Huzzah if it's all three! You'll notice that I breezed through incoming with 4 exclamation marks. It's just too much for one show, guys. Like, oh my god, because it's all in the name of brevity, where brevity already does not exist. I will bring you all up to speed on Postman Pete next week, because obviously I came back from PAX. I did bring some more games back. But as for the current crowdfunding situation, I just can't comprehend what happens in October. I just don't get it. I don't know whether it's companies thinking that they're tapping into all of our FOMOs because we all can't get to Essen, and it's a time where all of our algorithms and all of our timelines and our streams are packed with games. This is a relentless, vacuous black hole for your bank account. And I remember last year took me by surprise, and I remember thinking, this is crazy. If anything, this year is worse. You know, we've got all the tariff situation that we're getting through, and all the worldwide chaos and whatnot. And I just can't even comprehend. Today, we're going to go through quite a few games. And as I said, I toyed with splitting this into 2 episodes, but if I don't do it all in one, I'm just not going to do it, right? This is going to be a 2-hour episode, which takes about 5 hours of my life to sort out. And again, it's for me, not you. It's for me. It's my therapy session. I love doing it. But if I don't do it all in one episode, it's just not going to get done. So, where do we start? Let's start with the Don't Starve update. So Don't Starve was a game that I was you'll notice I used the word was, very excited to see hit crowdfunding. I really enjoyed the Don't Starve IP. I played it a lot on iOS. I thought it was very whimsical. I thought it was a really fun game. I thought the art aesthetic was interesting and different. It has kind of this sketch and scribble look that I really enjoyed. And I thought the gameplay was great. The Don't Starve game, I think, looks really, really fun. I've watched the gameplay videos. There's quite a few of them out there. I think it looks like a really fun game loop and a really interesting game. This is the first crowdfunding campaign that has actually made me feel a little bit ill. In that, you start off and you've got the acrylic version. It was like $79 or something. I'm like, oh, that's great. How bad can it get? And don't get me wrong, I own some big games. I own some overbloated games. The Castles of Burgundy Deluxe Edition is one of my favorite games. It's one of my favorite games to play. I think that version of it is really, this is what started off in our game group. We referred to games like that as the playable version. And if you don't have that one, unplayable. I mean, we say it in jest, but at the same time, I wouldn't want to play it any other way. I love it. I also, and I recognize this is my own issue, I struggle with the notion of I'm going to go get something that's whiz-bang, it's brand new, it's off the shelf, it's in crowdfunding, and I'm going to buy half of it. That's not completionist. It probably really is genuinely FOMO in that it's like, well, if I get this game and I adore it, I'm going to look at this and go, well, I've lost my opportunity to get the other half of the game. Because a lot of this stuff doesn't go to retailers. And I know that's the point, right? These companies like money, and that is literally the point of it. And I get it, and I recognize that I am absolutely psychologically falling into that pit and that trap of what they've handed to me, and I get it. But this Don't Starve campaign is the first one I've looked at, and it's actually made me feel ill. Because if you want to go all in on this, right, with shipping, it's $1,000. Now, we're talking about a $7 Steam game. It's $1,000. Now, granted, there's a fuck ton in this game now. Like, there's expansions after expansions after expansions, and there's minis everywhere, acrylic standees everywhere. They've gone down the road of doing their own version of the Too Many Bones Trove chest. It's covered in fur like a plushie. Like, what the actual farquad? And they're like, well, you may want to take the fur off for functionality. I'm like, do you think? Go have a look at this thing. It looks like an old-fashioned toilet paper cover, right? Did you ever have one of your grandparents or your grandmother had like this like furry thing that sat over a roll of toilet paper? It was like a knitted ballerina or some shit. This is like a furry trove chest. I'm like, how would that even fit in the Kallax with all the fur on it? What is the point? Whoa. Yeah. So I tapped out. I'm out. I really like Don't Starve, and I sat there and go, do I just get the base game? And I'm like, well, I could. I could, or I could take my money and put it into another campaign and move on. And I've chosen to move on. Right? I can't do base game. It's one of those things. And as I said, I know that's my problem, but wow. On to brighter things. Honor's End by IV Studios. Now, first up, they've misspelled honor. There's a U in honor. You can't tell me anything else. This is IV Studios clearly discriminating against anyone who doesn't live in the United States of America. And I'd like to lodge a formal protest. I filled out the paperwork in triplicate. I've put it in the mail. And I expect a formal response. IV Studios. Honor has a U in it. It's not honor. Honor's End. All jokes aside, Honor's End, I think, looks like a really nice piece of game. Honor's End is basically a ramped up boss battler. You're basically going to cycle through three bad guys. It's a deck builder. It's co-op. I am not sold on the notion of it being co-op. I'm happy to eat my words in a year, but I really think this is a solo game. I look at this and I look at the turn structure and the amount of thought that it goes through, and I think if I was watching someone else take their turn, I'd want to end it all. I'd want to just flip the table and end it all. Now they are selling this as a simultaneous sort of thing, right? But then what you've got is you've got two people staring down at their table in front of them for 5 or 6 minutes, looking up, going, right, now this is what I contributed. Oh, this is what I contributed. And off you go. Now, I may be misreading the situation. I'm very happy to, as I said, I'm happy to eat my words, but that's what it looks like to me. I'm going to get a chance to try it. I'm absolutely going to pick up Honor's End. The box is small enough; it looks like I can throw it in my bag for travel. And I think as a solo game, I think it's going to be a really spectacular puzzle. They're doing some clever stuff. They're taking feedback from all the backers. They're addressing some of the concerns about things like the variance and difference in the wound structure. They're looking at variance and difference in the bad guys. There's actually a mini campaign thrown in there with a little bit of narrative that unlocks different pieces for the game. And they've said, get the game, you can tip all this out and start playing with it from day one. We've done this so that you can trickle new mechanics out, trickle new things out, and have a bit of a story along the way, which I think is great. I'm going to play it that way, but they say if you really don't want to do it, this isn't Gloomhaven. It's like a multi-scenario sort of campaign, kind of like I want to think of it as Under Falling Skies. Under Falling Skies campaign I think is excellent. I think it's a really cool little bit of game. Under Falling Skies, if you're a solo player and you haven't played it, I think it's got to be one of the OG games that is in every solo player's collection. It will never leave my collection. I don't play it very often, but what I do is I pull it out every year or 14 months and I play it 12 games back to back. I play the campaign, and it's wonderful. I'm very much looking forward to this. The all-in for Honor's End, it comes with embroidered cloth bags, little individual dice towers, and they look like they're going to be a gargantuan pain in the ass. They're punchboard dice towers, and it just makes my skin crawl. But it comes with playmats, audio narration. It's 250 Australian dollars. I'm coming to terms with, in this day and age, that's not actually all that much. I'm going to be in at the deluxe level with one playmat, which is basically $100 less, with shipping at $30. So that's only 20% shipping. I mean, I think this looks like a really great piece of game. IV Studios is quickly getting a reputation for top shelf products at a top shelf price. Have a look. Honor's End is running for another 7 or 8 days. And, it's Christmas in 7 weeks. You can drop $1 in the Pledge Manager and pay for it next year. Which, to be honest, is probably what I'm going to do. Drop $1 in it. It's not because I'm undecided. I'm just deferring that payment till after the Christmas season because, I've got 3 daughters, Christmas is coming. I like to eat, I like to drink, I like to party. Honor's End. Honor without a U. There is no U in honor. Oh, that's good. They should use that. There is no U in honor. Up next, Obsession. New Obsession stuff. It's just stuff. It's not more game, I don't think. It's a rules compendium, big box playmat, a few other bits and pieces, some quality of life stuff. I won't spend a ton of time on this because I don't own Obsession, but Super Trooper loves Obsession. I know he's going to get this stuff. It's $90, I think, for all the bits, and it's an extra $40 shipping on top of that, if I've got that right. So yikes! But if you like Obsession, this is like an all-in-one rules compendium, nice big box playmat. I've played Obsession, it might be twice. I really like it is twice because I played it once at 2 and once at 4. And at 2, I would have liked one more person, and at 4, I would have liked one less person. I think that at 4, the game pace it just grinds to a halt, and I didn't really love my gameplay at 4. I really enjoyed my gameplay at 2, but felt it just needed that little bit more. I would love to play it again. I think Obsession is a very clever piece of game. It's thematic. It's joyous in all that sort of, old world Tudor. I might have the wrong era. I'm not a Britophile, but it's got that kind of old world Jane Austen-y sort of feel about it, and I think it's a clever bit of game. I know, I don't know. I'm reasonably confident that Super Trooper is going to be getting the big box and the playmat and all those bits and pieces, so watch this space. Coming up on an hour already, peeps. Oh, man, I love you guys. You guys are the best. Return to Dark Tower. So Return to Dark Tower, because Restoration Games loves money. Dark Tower and Return to Dark Tower. Dark Tower was a game that was out when I think it was like late 70s, early 80s. The Return to Dark Tower, you got this gigantic Dark Tower. It's battery powered. You chuck stuff in the top. It chucks stuff out the bottom. It looks like a load of fun. If you want to get caught up and get everything Return to Dark Tower, you can. It's a mere $770 with another 100 in shipping. The 100 in shipping is perfectly reasonable at 13%. So, yeah. But if you want the neoprene mat, apparently it comes with a separate shipping cost. Apparently, Dark Tower equals money. I don't own it. I thought it was fun to look at. I have watched people at cons play Dark Tower. It looks great on the table. It's got a table presence. It does all kinds of weird and wonderful stuff. It looks like bags of fun. I would play it in a heartbeat. I am not putting my money into it. I can't start at $700. Oh, I can. More on that later. But not with Return to Dark Tower. Oh! Sorry, I gotta adjust. I think my lower body's falling asleep. Whew! Up next on this crowdfunding extravaganza, the FOMOMOFO Deluxe here. My God, October. I'm not even covering half of what's out there, right? Dice Throne Vanguard. More Dice Throne, more add-ons, more stuff. I love stuff, right? If you already have a ton of Dice Throne, this is probably missing the mark for you. I've read, the CEO sent out an open letter during the first stages of this campaign, because there was a lot of sort of rage thrown around about the way they've packaged stuff up, because they basically, have packaged some of the quality of life upgrades with others, and people are like, well, I don't want it all, I just want this. And the CEO for Dice Throne Inc. basically came out and said, we'd love to give you unlimited customization, but we're a company of 9 people. I think people see Dice Throne and they think there's got to be 36 people working on this. He said there's 9 of us. And every time we add a new product line or a new combination, it opens the margin of error. It slows down fulfillment. It increased costs. And so he just said, we really tried to get it right. And we're sorry that we've upset you. They said, we really tried to get it right. We tried to make sure that, we got a bundle that ticked as many boxes as possible. He's playing the 80-20. It's the Pareto principle. If you haven't studied marketing or you're not familiar with the Pareto principle, you've probably heard the 80-20 rule. And he's trying to make the 80% happy. And he's going to upset the 20%. And maybe it's more than 20%, guys. I'm not trying to do gross generalizations, but he's trying to play the statistics and say, what can we do? What can we meaningfully do? Because what they've done is you've got the 4-character pack that's all bundled up, and then you've got the accessories packs, and the accessories packs have custom sleeves, acrylic tokens, and a minifigure for the character. Now, you only need the minifigure if you play Dice Throne Adventures, right? Which is something I've looked at over and over again over the years. I'd love to get into this stuff with the Peanut, because I think she would love it. The art is Manny Tremblay. I freaking love Manny Tremblay. I think his art's fantastic. Wonderland's War is one of my favorite games, and you can absolutely see the DNA of the art in these games overlapping. But so Dice Throne Vanguard, they've copped a bit of flack. People are upset. I mean, I think they're at $2 million, so it's not slowing them down, but they're also not flippant about the upset that they've caused. They've tried to come out and be very transparent and say, this is why we did it, guys. This is why we have to do it. And, it's not just, well, we can't fix it, suck it. They're like, we're listening. I think one of the other main issues was some of the promo cards that were available were only available in a bundle deal. I think they've backflipped a little and gone, look, we're going to unpick the promo cards, and the special Kickstarter promos are going to be available for all the base pledges, which is great. They're responsive, they're engaged. But if you already have a ton of Dice Tower stuff, you probably don't need this because it's more characters. Some of them look like they're maybe, I won't say reskins, but a redo. Like there's a was it the Sun Elf looks like maybe a little bit of a redo of the Pyromancer, which I think is great. If you don't have any Dice Throne stuff, well, this might be the point to jump in. 4 new heroes. I mean, it's basically Hero Yahtzee. You got 5 dice, and there's all kinds of good stuff you do. But you can get the new heroes for $90, $90 Australian, actually, to get 4 new heroes. And that's a game, right? That's 4, you can play that a number of different ways. If you want the whole tamale, like everything that's in this, it's well over 400, right? Like they've got all kinds of stuff. They've got dice trays and play mats and blah, 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 all kinds of stuff. But there's you get one in the middle, which is quite nice, which is the 4 characters, the fancy sleeves, the acrylic tokens, the minifigs. It's $200 Australian, which, to be honest, I've come to terms with the fact that is the new quote-unquote reasonable for games. And shipping for that is a spectacularly acceptable $36 or 18%. I have no Dice Throne in my collection, and I have confessed previously to be a closet dice chucker. I think the Peanut would love this. The art is spectacular, so I'm going to be honest, this might be the point at which I do jump into Dice Throne. I think that this, and then maybe the next layer of, after we've played a couple of games, bring out Dice Throne Adventures. The Peanut really loves D&DS kind of stuff. She loves an adventure, and so I think this might be a spot that I jump in on Dice Throne. Because as I said, I have nothing, and so these are quite nice looking. Great art. It's an interesting choice here for them in that they're not offering a pledge manager for adjusting your order. The pledge manager will be for shipping only. They say they're going to be placing firm orders as soon as the campaign closes, which is not unusual. It is unusual to not have, a 5 or a 6 month lead for late pledges. I mean, that could be driven by the fact that they have a product that's pretty much ready to go and they don't want to sit on it. The faster they move forward, the faster they're going to get cash injections. They can't move forward until the pledge manager closes, really, because they want firm orders for all their production. It's especially unusual here at the back end of the year where, money's tight for some people. It's very common for people to drop $1 in and pay next year. As I mentioned, I'm probably going to be doing that for Honor's End because I can. I could probably pay for it now, but, if I can drop $1 in, and they've been very clear to say, prices aren't going up in the pledge manner. It's all good, guys. You do you. I think it's unusual, given that Christmas is only 6 or 7 weeks away now. God, that's terrifying. To not offer pledge manager. But look, it means their product's probably going to get to market faster. Maybe they're doing it to drive FOMO, but it would be a weird thing to sort of, I guess, use that as a mechanic to force people to spend money that maybe they don't have. Having read a couple of the press releases from the CEO, they seem very humanistic and interested in, working closely. Whatever. The thing about this stuff is it's going to be available in retail. Dice Throne will be in retail. You'll be able to pick it up. It's not going to be much of a problem. You will miss the Kickstarter exclusives, but whatever. Dice Throne Vanguard. I think the presentation of it looks great. I think it looks absolutely great. We'll quickly go through a couple because I was looking at them and look, they're up for a while and I think they're worth your look. One is Tenpenny Parks. Tenpenny Parks has that classic, it's got really classic retro sort of feel. It's an amusement park tile layer. I've always liked the looks of Tenpenny Parks. Tenpenny Parks and Barron Park are ones that have been on my radar for a while just because I think they would really fit a nice niche here in our collection. I think from a tile layer point of view, I don't have much. We've played My Island and My City, but I can't think of a tile layer I have in my collection. And the Fox really likes tile layers. She likes them a lot. There's a couple of new expansions, that build out the game. I love the looks of it. My only issue with this is the timing. October is such a crush. I think it's also a bit expensive for what it is. It's quite a basic tile layer. And if you jump in, you want the whole lot. It's $170 Australian, which is fine. But it's a fairly straightforward game. Shipping's only $27, so 16%. To be honest, it might be something I look at further down the line for retail. I don't think there's a ton of Kickstarter exclusives. I don't think you're missing out on much by letting it go right now. But if you like 10-penny parks and you want more 10-penny, it's there for the taking. Vincent Dutrait's killing it with the art. It really has that lovely retro carnival sort of feel. And then, this is a weird one. I was really interested to see what it was going to be like. This is Cretaceous Rails. Honestly, I keep coming back to it, guys, but crowdfunding, it is just a miasma of so much stuff right now. It is like, I just don't get it. Like, it's, people are going to have money again in March. Maybe, anyway, Cretaceous Rails, it's basically Jurassic Park meets Ticket to Ride. The aesthetic's really old school, which I can totally appreciate. It's got that kind of Dino, is it Dino Island? It's got that, like, flaming pink dinosaurs and stuff. It's got the same sort of look and feel about it. Neon plastic dinosaurs. Unfortunately, with this one, I look at it, it feels kind of dated. Like, the minis all have these big flat bases on them, like the old Army Men from 1978. It's not going great. There's 800 backers on it off 6,000 pre-launch followers. I mean, October often sees campaigns go totally nuts in the last few days because everyone's holding onto their cash to make a last-minute decision. But it's a weird one for me. I mean, if you like dinosaurs and trains, I see what you did there. Dinosaurs and trains. If you like dinosaurs and trains, the all-in is 300 Australian, which for all that plastic and stuff seems fine. Shipping is $35, which is actually a little bit suspicious because it's only 12%. I mean, I'm sure they've done their homework. No crowdfunding campaign's ever gone wrong with shipping estimates. I mean, maybe they've just included $10 of shipping in the price of the game. I'm actually a bit of a fan of that because it kind of makes it, it's a marketing thing. Look, I wish them well. I was really keen to see what it was all about because I like Dinosaur Island. But Cretaceous Rails, if you like trains and you like dinosaurs, have a look. We're into the meaty end of the swimming pool. That's some mixed metaphors. How much meat is in the swimming pool? I guess it depends which resort you're at. Water usually, not meat. I mean, there's also meat, but that's not a PG conversation. I want to talk about Elder Scrolls Heroes of Tamriel because Chip Theory could launch Elder Scrolls Scats and Cats, where you've got to go around collecting droppings from different felines and submit them. Like, I would still buy it, right? My video gaming history is Morrowind, it's Oblivion, it's Skyrim, it's Fallout 3 and 4, and Fallout New Vegas. 90% of my video gaming history is all Bethesda. It's all this stuff. And I absolutely adore Skyrim. Skyrim as a game has more hours out of me than it would be hundreds, 400 or 500 hours, and that's rookie numbers for some people in Skyrim, because it's one of those things like an old pair of shoes. I can fire up Skyrim and I can go, and I can play for 6 hours, and I can put it away, and I can go back and play a year later, or I can go and I can binge it for a rainy weekend. And Elder Scrolls is a spectacular game. Betrayal of the Second Era is a spectacular game. They released at Gen Con this year a chef class, which is near dear in my heart, and Cheeses of Tamriel was a promotion pack. So yes, I'll be getting all the fucking cheeses. Sweet baby cheeses. Blessed are the cheesemakers. They can have all my monies, honestly. Chip Theory is kind of like Apple or Sonos or any of those big companies. They just go, here's my price. Here it is. Come get it. Their stuff typically doesn't go on sale. To be honest, for the quality of their production, I wouldn't even say it's overpriced. There's the storage box, which is the Elder Scrolls sort of trove chest. The box is 270 Australian dollars, which when I started sort of unpicking that, that's almost as much as one of my 5x5 Kallax shelves. So I could probably just get a 5x5 Kallax shelf and, put Elder Scrolls on 2 or 3 of those shelves. I didn't math that out earlier. That's egregiously expensive. I will say this, though. Chip Theory storage crates, they make tabling their games 10 times faster. The trove chest for Too Many Bones. I can have Too Many Bones literally on the table in 20 minutes, which doesn't sound fast, but if you're picking out stuff from all the boxes and all the different sources of cards and all the different places for the chips and whatnot, it's like a 45-minute setup, right? This whittles it down to 20 minutes. Elder Scrolls has a wonderful save system where you can put it away, because Elder Scrolls, to play one of the, I'll call it campaign, it's a 3-game run. Each runs 3 to 4 hours. They've got a marvelous save system that lets you sort of clip a clamshell around your character and just go straight back to it. So that, coupled with their storage chest, I think for me, if it means I'm going to be able to get it to the table more often, because the Elder Scrolls box, it fits nicely into a Calyx, but let me tell you, it is the single heaviest box I have. That one box has to be 12 kilos. It is packed with stuff. And having one of their storage chests means I can spin my chair around and just pull a couple of drawers out, and I can be ready to go. Particularly if it's in between sessions, it's 10 minutes down and up, which is amazing. Shipping on this is only $32, which is stupid. But Chip Theory plays lots of funny games with their shipping. They actually released a couple of campaigns where they offered free shipping, and they just built it all into the price of the game. And so clearly that's what they're doing here, because if you're getting this expansion, I mean, it's $32. It's heavy stuff. Guaranteed, the price of the shipping is built into that storage box, 100%. They couldn't do it any other way, and I think that's smart. It's smart because the price you look at is very easy to swallow. Well, it's not easy to swallow, right? It's gargantuan. But you got $32 shipping. It's board gamer math. It's free. Game's free, right? Lastly, for today, I'm so fucked. Really, I'm so fucked. I've been on a horror bender lately with my money. In what I'm buying and with what I'm adding to the collection. The Peanuts growing up, 2-3 years ago, I couldn't have even had Cthulhu Death May Die in the house because the minis and the box art would have given her night terrors. She still gets a little freaked out with some of this stuff, but she just looks away as she walks past. Minis don't bother her. Box art does a little bit. I'm reading through the OG deceased graphic novels, and they've got to sit on my bedside or next to my chair in the lounge room, face down, because they're pretty creepy. But she can now look at, minis which are plastic and go, ooh, that's funky, that's spunky. I can have them in the house. This is Below the Abyss. Or Below Abyss. Below the Abyss. It's the new Awaken Realms campaign. I was literally bottle fed on Stephen King. Right? I think I read my first Cujo was the first Stephen King novel I read, and I think I was 9. I nearly wet the bed. It was terrifying. It was terrifying. My mom was a mad horror reader, and she's like, yeah, read this. You'll like this. I was scared witless, and I couldn't get enough. I have read so much horror over the years. Brian Lumley and Dean Koontz, which is kind of lightish horror, but H.P. Lovecraft and Clive Barker. Oh my God, Clive Barker kept me up at night. Whoa. So I have sort of unleashed the sort of inner demon, so to speak, and I'm going down the path of the horror games. And I love that grim, that dark, that yeah. So this game, it's interesting. This is actually, it's a Euro resource management game. Like, surprise, motherfuckers! This is not a roll dice and hope for the best. There are dice, but this is a Euro resource game, and it's really clever. And the premise of this is got that whole sort of Stranger Things upside down thing. The whole board is split on the left and the right. And on the left, you've got, the normal asylum that's roaming with monsters, and on the right you've got the below asylum, which is the dark spiritual underworld that's all red and dark and things are bad, and certain decisions you've got to basically on your player board, you've got this little dial, and certain things move the dial around, and when it gets all the way around, you get sucked to the other side of the board against your will. Now, you can climb through a rift to get to the other side if there's something you want to do over there, because certain things can only be done on the underworld side. But things will happen, which basically just go, and they move you over there. Oh, I think it's so good. You've got this ritual that you're performing in the middle that when you look at it, you go, what the hell is that? But when you actually watch the gameplay and how the ritual dials in the middle work and interplay, it's kind of like the Rings of Seti. Now, there's no coincidence to that, because Thomas Holek, who designed Seti, is the designer of this game. And those rings in Seti that spin around and mess with your, a little bit with what you want to do to get out to the planets and whatnot. You've got this ritual that spins around, and there's 2 different dials that spin sometimes asynchronously, and different things line up, and you've got to plan your moves. I think this looks really, really good. There are dice. The only thing dice are used for, you roll them and it gives you push or attack icons. Basically, you've planned everything else out, and this will give you, it's It's not a roll for attack, as in you can still do other things, but you might just not get a strong enough one, and I can live with that. It's the same as a bag pull in Arkham Horror. It's the same as a, look, it's not deterministic in that regard. There are some random things in that you've got cards that you're flipping for events. You've got a shimmer deck, and the shimmer deck flips in certain circumstances, and it's the thing that pushes your dial around, that shifts you from one side to the next. This looks really good. Now, here are my concerns. There's no rule book. I mean, clearly one exists for the prototype stage because every content creator out there right now is putting out videos on Abyss. I would suggest that they probably have, the bones of a rule book. The fact that this game isn't delivering for almost 2 years means they don't yet have a game. Right, it's not delivering if it hits on time, which Awakened Realms is pretty good at. It's not hitting until April 2027. So they don't have a game. They have the bones of a game. They have an idea and outline for a game. They have a game system. They don't have the minutia. Yes, this is going to be a massive production. And it may well be that they're looking at it and going, look, this is going to hit 5, 6, 7 million. I don't think it's going to hit the $11 million Nemesis Retaliation sort of levels. But this is going to be a multi-million-dollar campaign for Awakened Realms. Look, the pluses, this is developed and co-designed by the team that did Tainted Grail Kings of Ruin. Now, Tainted Grail Kings of Ruin, I think, was one of the best grimdark horror narratives that I've ever known. I got sucked into that story, sucked into the gameplay and the gameplay loop. It's also, as we talked about, co-designed by Thomas Holick, who is absolutely killing it in the mid-heavy Euro space. He did Galileo Galilei and SETI in the same year. If this is what he's turning his attention to, I approve, right? So that gives me a lot of reasons to be positive. This is not a campaign game. So I've got a lot of horror-y stuff that's campaign-y. I've got Dawn of Madness coming, which isn't a campaign. It's a one-shot, but one-shot is like 7 to 10 hours, which I just can't wait. I can't wait to get that shit to the table. That is just going to be fantastic. But this is a one-shot. And look, I think the thing I like, there's a lot of things I like about this. One of the things I like is that there's so much flavor in the nuanced bits. So they may not have a game, as in they may not have a complete game. But what they have, and this has got to be coming from the team that did Tainted Grail, is such a spectacularly deep, rich, and interesting bit of flavor. The backstory for the two characters that we can know and get access to. One of them is you've got a character who's got a possessed katana, and the backstory is actually written from the viewpoint of the katana. It's a possessed sword. The other character that we've seen in prototype gameplays, it's a character who has access and manipulates 2 spectral cats around the board with him, and they can do really interesting stuff. And the flavor text is written from the viewpoint of the cats. And then you've got all of the unique player powers. They are so well flavored and so well in tune. It's the first time I've come into these sorts of things or this sort of thing and read the flavor text for these characters and gone, shit, tell me more. Tell me more about this person I knew nothing about 2 minutes ago. They released information on a new agent, as there will be plenty coming out, and her whole backstory. And it was so interesting. I'm like, you could have given me a 40-page short story and I would have read it word for word. And again, this comes back to, we've got the game designer for SETI and we've got the flavor designers from the Tainted Grail Kings of Ruin coming together. And I am so optimistic about this game, like a kid on Christmas morning. Really, honestly, the art is 11 out of 10. The art is spectacular. I mean, the other thing I really, really like about this campaign, on day one, they announced an all-in price. Here's the all-in. Now, I'm not going to say it's cheap. I think the all-in price for what you're getting is going to be quite good. I can't recall what it is, and that's not me playing board gamer games. I want to say it was 312 euros for the all-in. So it's $12.6 million Australian. But they announced the all-in, and they've said, no, the all-in is the all-in. Now you're going to see a ton of stretch goals come in. They're all in the all-in. You're not going to see any surprise expansions and go, yep, you were thinking you were going to spend X, and now you're going to be wanting to spend another $400. Looking at you, don't starve. They've said, all in. This is the all in. If you pledge this, you are getting everything. Now, you don't know what everything is yet. We got you, but you're getting everything. And I think that is wonderful. I think given the fact that so many campaigns go, it's $79, and then a week later it's like, here's another $30, or 2 days later here's another $40, and by the time you look up here at $600, I'm like, Jesus Christ. Yeah, 300 euros, what's that? That's got to be $500 Australian realistically. When I look at the amount of game and what's in here, one of the stretch goals already, it's like a sunken ship, and one side of the board is like it's two and you've got this, the monstrosity is like this huge Mechazilla. It's like the engine demon. Yeah. Also, it plays solo, so yeah, I'm fucked.
Voices in my head, I'm talking to myself. What board game should I get down off the shelf?
This week on Voices in My Head, I want to talk about Pax Australia and the best in show. Pax is all about the games. The entire Melbourne Convention Exhibition Centre is Pax. They've got huge halls. There's stuff upstairs, stuff downstairs, stuff in every corner. The entire convention centre. I don't know how many people go. 60,000 people probably, I'm guessing. It is absolutely packed. There are 3 massive halls downstairs, and they're split such that Hall 1 is the indie showcase, and that's indie board games and indie video games together, which I think is amazing. Because in previous years, they've taken the indie board games and they put them in the tabletop hall. They've put them in the very first entrance hall now, and so you go in and you got all the indie stuff together. Indie video games, indie board games. Hall 2 is digital stuff. It's merch, it's graphic novels. They got the retro gaming area where they've got all the pinball machines. It's just so good. You just go in there and you just play pinball. Or you go in there and you play Galaga. Or you go in there and you play, like, the retro gaming arena is so much fun. There's stuff in there from your childhood. You can play Pitfall. You can play Pac-Man and Frogger. And, like, you know how many quarters I lost to this shit when I was young? Like, it's so good. And then Hall 3 is 100% tabletop. Every year I get to play a whole lot of games, both during the show and after the show. The show itself ends at 6 p.m. It's from 10 to 6, but the tabletop free play area is open till 11. This year was no exception. So this year, both of my picks for Game of the Show were both indie projects, and they are literally polar opposite ends of the spectrum. So the first one is a game called Birds. That's actually the full title. It's not Birds. It's actually, on the box it says a game called Birds. It's a banana yellow thing with a bird on the banana yellow box with a bird on the front, and it says a game called Birds. And this is designed by 2 really cool dudes from Tasmania. Tasmania is one of our states down south of Australia. I'm hoping to chat with them in the coming couple of months about their origin story, because they've got a really cool origin story for this game. And they have self-published this. If you want to play it, you're going to need to hunt around for stockists, but trust me, it is worth it. I was walking through the indie game section, and they were setting up for a demo, and they had a spare seat, and one of them just looked and just made eye contact and said, "Would you like to play?" And I really didn't catch my eye. Like, they had this big spinning wheel like you see in a raffle up, and it was a yellow cover with a bird on it. It's called a game called Birds. I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I just said, look, I'm not asking because I want to rush along, but how long is the demo? And he said, we're going to play probably a whole game. It'll be about half an hour, 45 minutes. I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. Yeah. Deal me in. So I sat down. So where to start? A game called Birds. It's kind of a trick taker, but not really. It's kind of got blind bluffing, but not really. It's got this weird little event thing going on the board where if you land on a square, don't think about Monopoly and Sorry and that shit, but you are moving around a Kramer track for scores, and if you land on certain squares, an event triggers, but not really. Oh, and this game made me love a spinner, so what the actual fuck? Right? When was the last time you said, I want to spin? Like spinners just make my skin crawl. It's game of life. It's that old school stuff. What's next? A pop-top dice roller? Like, they made me love a spinner. So I'm going to do my best. The rulebook actually takes you through the 4 different stages of learning this game. It's really great. The game's not that complicated, but the rulebook, it basically gives you the teach. It's not just a set of rules. It goes, right, you're going to play a hand, and you play a hand, and you go, now you're going to play the hand this way, and now you're going to add this, now you're going to add this. I'm going to try and do it justice, but I'm going to probably brutally murder the mechanics. So just settle down. Hit pause. Go get yourself something alcoholic. So You got a hand of cards. I think ostensibly from memory it's 5 cards. And on each card is a bird. And there are 2 numbers. There's a twitch number and a fight number. They're top and bottom in the top left corner. It's the top and bottom. And the number could be, I think they're ostensibly 1 to 10. And so it might be a 2 twitch and a 5 fight. And some of the birds have little special powers on them. Think like wingspan birds. It might say, steal a card from another player when you play this card, whatever the case is. And so what you're going to do is over the course of the game, or the round, there's a deck with a little discard, and the discard's called the roost, and the dealer deals with that. And what he's going to do is on the backs of the cards, it says up and down. I think it says twitch or fight. And so what that means is if the card says up, then you're going to play your cards face up for that round. If it says down, you're going to play them face down. And if it says twitch or fight, that's the number you have to disclose from the bird you're playing. So obviously it's face up, disclosing it's not that big a deal because everyone can see your card. If it's face down, then you don't get to lie on this. You don't get to lie, right? But it's just about hiding a little bit of information to make it harder for everyone to decide what they want to do. So if the first card, for example, says up and twitch, so we're all going to play our cards face up. The dealer who has the roost will look at that card and he or she will tell you, let's use the they, will tell you one of the 2 values. They don't have to tell you what, I don't think they have to tell you what it is. No, they do have to tell you what it is. So they might say it's 5 twitch or it's 2 fight, and then they put it in the roost face down. So they go, this is 5 fight, and they put it in the roost face down. So they can't lie, right? And then we go around the table, and if it's up, we play our cards face up. So everyone's going to play a card face up. And if we're playing twitch, then that's what we declare when we put it down. So the twitch value of a card is the top number. It could be 2, it could be 4, it could be 6. You're going to put your card down, and you're going to go 4 twitch, right? The next person's going to put one down. And if they put one down that has the same twitch as you, they go 4 twitch, tweet, and they get a point. And it might even be 2 points. And if the third person puts one down and they also match that twitch value, or I put one down and go, I'm third, I go 4 twitch, I go tweet, tweet, and I get 4 points. If it can be done a third time, it's tweet, tweet, chirp, and you get huzzah points. Now, that's great for points. It's not great for quote unquote winning the trick, okay? Because you're going to do a second round now, and the dealer's going to pick up a second card. And remember, the back of the card showing on the deck might now say fight down, which means you're now declaring your fight value and you're placing face down. So you're going to lose track of what's in front of everyone around you. So the dealer will pick the card up and go, this bird is 9 fight, and put it face down, right? So if you are a little bit on the ball, you'll remember the first one was 5 twitch, you got 9 fight, face down, okay? Then you're going to go around the table and you're going to play another card, but this one's face down. You're going to declare your fight and you're going to play it face down. At the end of that round, you got 2 cards in the roost. Now the dealer has the first option to swap their entire hand out for that roost. They can look at it at any time and go, I know what's there. And they might go, nope. And then it goes around the table in turn order. And if you have heard good cards in there, you think there's good cards in there, well, then you might decide when it gets to you, yep, you want to swap your hand out. Because what happens after this is you spin a spinner. Okay? You're going to spin a spinner in the middle of the board. And it's going to go round and round and round, and it's going to have a number, and it's going to say either twitch or fight. So say it lands on 2 twitch. Well, that 2 gets added to the pool for scoring. Okay, if it says 2 twitch, you're scoring twitch. So you're going to flip your cards, and your twitch numbers are going to add together. Right? Let's say you had a 3 twitch and a 7 twitch. Well, you've got 9. And so you've got 9. Right? You got 9. That's 9 points. You go around the table, you score up everyone's points. But wait, there's more. Because if you've managed to build runs in your cards, so let's say the first card was a 2 twitch, 4 fight, and the next card was a 3 twitch, 5 fight. You've built a 2, 3, 4, 5 in your play, and you get 4 bonus points. This is why the layered teach is so excellent with this. And it's first to 80. So what you're going to do is you're going to score all your points, right? You're going to score all your points. And I think it's winner scores. Everyone else gets fucked. I can't remember. But it was spicy. It was excellent. This is going to set you back a whopping $40, guys. And I think if you can get people to the table to play this even remotely once in a while, it is zingy, it is spicy. There's that little bit of back and forth. There's that little bit of screw you. Because your card might also say, swap with any card you like. So I might play a 1 twitch, 2 fight card, but it says swap with any card you like. And I look over and someone's got a 9 twitch, 7 fight. And I go, yoink, thank you very much. All of a sudden I've won the trick. Right? Ah, yeah. Spicy. It's great. It's called a game called Birds, and it was excellent, and it was my biggest surprise. It was my biggest surprise of PAX. I have it. It's still in shrink. I will get it to the table. I will make people play it because I think it is something special. My second pick was also an indie game, although this is at the opposite end of the spectrum from a production point of view. You know, a game called Bird's going to set you back about $40. This one's going to set you back a lot more than that. This is called Aberration. Now, Aberration is published by Ghostfire Gaming in Melbourne. It's designed by Peter Lee. Peter Lee has a heck of a pedigree. You know, Peter Lee's behind the Horrified game system. He's also designed games like Lords of Waterdeep, many of the D&D licensed board games out there, a number of the Villainous titles and expansions. He's also responsible for Pan Am, a number of the expansions for HeroScape. The point is he's got chops. He's also a super nice dude. I had a chance to talk to him at length about Aberration. Aberration was a game that they weren't booking in for little demos. You booked in for a whole game. And I can see why. They wanted you to experience the entire arc of the game, even though that's a 2-hour booking. Right? It's a 2-hour booking, but they wanted you to experience the whole arc of the game, and I'm so glad they did, because putting 2 hours into one game at PAX, you know, that's 25% of the PAX opening time. It's only open 8 hours, 10 to 6. So I sat down, and a spoiler alert, Aberration is great. Now, Aberration was crowdfunded and delivered earlier this year. It's basically demonic tower defense Pandemic. And even that doesn't do it justice. And I'm going to struggle to do it justice here, just because there's so much going on with this. It was easy to learn, don't get me wrong. 4 of us had never touched the game before. We did a teach, and we played a full game in about an hour and 40 minutes, which is incredible for the depth of game that this is and the amount of game that's going on. So basically what's happening is what you've got is asymmetrical player boards, different characters, and each one has a number of different actions based on color. This is a bag builder, by the way. You've got a board full of little discs, not unlike Wonderland's War, where you've got chips in your board, and what you're doing is each turn you pluck one of those chips off and you throw it in your bag. You start with a number of chips in the bag, and the chips are ostensibly divided by strength. They're blue, red, yellow, whatever. Yellow is commanding, blue is speed and movement, red strength. There's 4 different ones, and there's a black one. Black's bad. Black is bad. Oh, and you have a white one. White is wild. And so what you're going to do on your turn is you're going to draw a number of chips, and the number of chips that you draw is based on what's exposed on your board. Think like Spirit Island as well. As you put your discs out, it increases your sort of abilities. So each one you choose to pull off will give you a different ability or an increase in abilities. Some of them will give you item cards. And on your turn, you're going to pull a number of chips out, and they go into your pool. And that's your action set for the game, for the round. Now, there are a number of basic actions that they can each be used for, and then there are advanced actions they can all be used for. So you never are boxed into a corner with these things. Oh, this is a really beautiful game. In the middle of the board, you have this little village with basically sharpened poles all around it, like you would have in The Walking Dead kind of thing. You've got your villagers standing in there, and the villagers have little worker placement spaces on there. So during your turn, you can command them to go to one of those spaces, and they will do a number of things. You will be moving around the board. You will be attacking things. You have ranged attacks and melee attacks. And what happens is the board's divided into 4 quadrants. Each of those quadrants has 2 entry spaces from the border. And creatures will spawn at the borders, but the spawn disc is face down. And until you enter the square with that, or until it enters a space that has a fire in it, because you can light fires all over the place, these things are concealed in shadow. you don't know what's marching towards the village until it hits a space with fire or a space with a person. And then you flip the disc, it tells you what to spawn, and you spawn. And these things are mean as fuck. And so good, and so visceral. And minis, there's minis. Spoiler alert, there's fucking minis, guys. Ooh. I'm going to segue for a minute. I once played a game of Pandemic. I think it was Pandemic at Barrico. It's the one with the floodwaters in Europe. And we set it all up. And we started. And on the second turn, the game was over. We'd already lost. Right? We're looking at the board going, what the shit just happened? Might have been the third turn. I think there were 5 or 6 of us playing. I don't think I got a turn in that game. We basically went, well, fuck this for a joke. We put it away. There was a point at my second turn. Now, there's a fair bit of downtime in this. I'm not going to lie. But the wonderful thing about Aberration is you can do things during someone else's turn. There are all kinds of things that you can contribute from your player board, from your abilities, from your item cards. Somebody's stuck, somebody's fucked into a corner, there's stuff you can do. Because on my second turn, I was way out in the field and I got overwhelmed. There were so many minis on the square with me that they were spilling out all around me. There were spiders and stumps and wolves, all kinds of, like, honestly, you could barely see me. And I'm like, well, this is going to be a fast demo. Because this was like 20 minutes, 25 minutes, maybe 30 minutes into the 2-hour demo. I'm like, well, guys, this will be a quick one. So I took a ton of hits. My health went down 60% in one turn. Well, there's a lovely bit of Cthulhu Death May Die bit in there where the more you get hit, the more powerful you get. You get certain thresholds when you hit where you draw these like shadow cards where you're getting infused and imbued with the shadow from the demons. They do bad things to you, but they usually give you this really spicy little benefit as well. So I'd actually drawn 2 of these 25 minutes into the game. And the guy who's one of the designers was like, yeah, I've not ever seen it go this badly, this quickly before. Table talk, right? We're like, okay, guys, I'm fucked. And the guys around the table, they're looking at the table going, well, I don't need to buy this game. Table talk, we talked through it. What can we do? What have you got? Because you can engage and act when it's not your turn. By the end of my turn, there had been some area of effect stuff. One of the guys was able to lob the medieval equivalent of a grenade in. I ended my turn. I was still surrounded. By the time I got back around to me, the space was clear. Now, I was limping. I wasn't in very good shape. But I was amazed that the game allowed for that level of recovery. In that, honestly, I think even the game designer was like, well, that was fun. But no, we were able to eke it out. Now, we did lose. We eventually lost the game. At about the hour and 35 minute mark or the hour 40 minute mark, we lost. We lost on, there's 2 different timers, I think it's like fear or despair, or whatever the case is, and we lost on that. But man, it was a good time. It was a really, really good time. This comes with 16 scenarios and a couple of expansions. I bought it all. I just said to the guys, I said, do you have this here? And he's like, you're lucky we just got everything in, because otherwise you're ordering it from the US and you're paying massive shipping. They don't have a local distributor for it. You can order it online from Ghostfire Gaming. Let me tell you something. They had it all there. I would like, just give it to me. They're like, I'm like, I just give it to me. Give me the whole lot. And it was, I can't wait. It's all sitting in shrink. There's 16 scenarios. There is a solo mode. I talked to the guy who actually wrote the solo mode, and he said, I'm so passionate about solo. All 16 scenarios have a specific solo mode, so you're playing the game. I don't know what that looks like, but he said, no, I got you. One of the expansions is called Honk of Doom, which is basically demonic geese. And as a good Canadian boy, I've grown up with Canadian geese, and this speaks to me. This is Aberration. This is a big, gorgeous, grim, mini-filled, crisis-fueled extravaganza. This is the polar opposite of a game called Birds, but no less an indie project and no less a gem of a game. And yes, you bet your ass it's on my shelf of first, and I cannot wait to crack into it. Well, peeps, that was probably the longest OMC episode to date, I think. If I lost you an hour ago, I look forward to seeing you again next week. If you lived through all that waffling, meandering fever dream that was my last week, I appreciate your sacrifice. You can reach me on all the socials. Find me on Facebook by searching One Man Clapping. You can join the One Man Clapping Guild on BGG and subscribe to Guild 4426. You can help OMC by dropping me a like on Facebook or Instagram. A follow would be good too. I got to limp through to a number of followers before I can start doing live streams. And you can leave me a review. Leave me a review, it'd be great. If it's a bad review, I'll survive. This week's episode has been brought to you by the thrill of the future. The Fox and I have plotted out our next 2 years of holidays, and it looks like Germany is on the cards for October 2027. Get excited. That's Essen 2027 for OMC, and also it's only 50 weeks to PAX Australia. Thank you as always for your time. Your time is precious, and the fact that you chose to waste an hour of it listening to how I spend my time is always humbling. Until next time, get your game on, even if you go to play with yourself. Sometimes playing with yourself is more rewarding than doing it with a friend. Peace out, mofos. Love ya.